Honorable Speaker, I have an oral urgent question to the Right Honorable Leader of the Government Business, and I want to see whether what she said now would be a consistent sense in the next question.
Can I have the gist of it?
The gist of it is that the Right Honorable Prime Minister, empowered by the statutes of this country, transfers the officials or officers that serves as executive directors to various government agencies and ministries. It's a given, and we agree with that. But we are seeing an interference and capturing of the Anti-Corruption Commission. If the Prime Minister is talking about the autonomy, government wants to protect autonomous institutions, how does that speak to the fact that she would take an executive director from the office of the Central Intelligence, someone who deals with the questions of Honorable Rear Admiral, my dear friend and neighbor, Vilo, who deals with everything secret, to come and run ACC? At a sensitive juncture, what we are hearing that there are already over 303 individuals already linked to the accounts of the fish rot scandal. And yet the Prime Minister does not flag the question of autonomy and transparency and brings in a spy agent to come and run ACC. How does to us ACC is already captured? Because if there was transparency, the Prime Minister should have said ACC, in terms of protecting the ethos and the values of that institution, please go out and look for a competent person to become the executive director. But that you are pushing the executive directors of ACC as government at will, while ACC is investigating government, to us that is a compromise. And I want to hear your view on the matter, because you spoke so eloquently about the ECN autonomy. What about the ACC autonomy?
Thank you, Honorable Benani, Prime Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I have responded to that issue, the Office of the Prime Minister, and I would say in short what the response is. Executive directors do not run these watchdog institutions. The ACC is not run by the executive director at the ACC. It is run by the Director General of the ACC, assisted by the Deputy Director General, and the staff that are empowered through delegation of the powers for investigation and other work that are carried out by the ACC by wrong information. I want to say that.
Thank you very much.
And there was therefore no interference in the work of the Commission. This was a power of the Prime Minister that is given under the law to transfer persons. There is absolutely nothing wrong that we know of with the person that is deployed as ED at the ACC. And if there is anything that renders that person unsuitable to serve in that position in terms of the Public Service Act, then that information should be made known to the Prime Minister. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
You were talking about autonomy of the ECN. What is the autonomy of ACC? At the ECN, the director who runs ECN is appointed through an open vetting process to avoid conflict of interest. Now, ACC that is running a corruption scandal of over 10 billion, the people that are accused are ministers that are in prison. And now you are bringing the state to be able to direct the affairs. And if you are saying the ED does not direct the affairs, of course the ED is the person that presents the budget of ACC to the ministry. Of course, every year when there is a budget committee, ED are the ones that are heading that. Yes.
Honorable
So
Benani.
if the ED says don't give money to the AC to the Fish Rot case, then he is compromised. If you want to speak of the autonomy of ACC, government has captured ACC.
Thank you. Let's leave it there.
Yes.
Honorable preempt. Please, I don't want you to continue the form of a dialogue. Briefly, please. Yeah.
I must respond. I must respond because
Yes,
I
please.
need to provide clarity. The appointment of the director of the ECN is provided for in the Act. So if it was the wish of this House that the director of the ECN would have functions and would be appointed in a certain manner, then we should have provided for that under the law. But we have provided for what we have provided, and that stands for as long as that law is unamended.
Okay.
And I'm sure we all know that. And I reiterate once again that the EDs do not deal with the functions that are vested in the principals that head public institutions, and it is not correct that the ED of the ACC is the one that presents the budget. Present it where? Yeah, as I have served at the Ministry of Finance, and I know that principals heading institutions of the state do directly speak to the resources needs, and I consider such when I make a proposal for a budget. So it is incorrect to say whatever funding goes to the ACC is actually determined by the ED. Absolutely not. The ED only is the accounting officer, and that's all.
Thank you. Let's leave it at that. Let's leave it at that. Honestly, no. I think we leave it at that. No. Honestly, we had a oral question. No. Benani, no. Let's leave it at that. Let's leave it at that. With due respect, let's leave it at that. No. We move on. Notices or motions. Honorable Benani.
You can't have two
No,
arguments.
please.
I move a motion that
We
you
are
can't
move
have-
on.
You can't have two arguments on autonomy.
No.
On one case you are saying the other one. You
You-
must be consistent.
Let's move on.
Yes. Honorable Speaker,
Yes.
on Tuesday next week I shall move a motion in this August Assembly to debate the precarious situation unfolding in our sisterly republic, Zimbabwe. There has of late been renewed arbitrary crackdown on opposition activists, members of civil society and journalists by the government of Zimbabwe. Listen, you are new to politics, dozens, if not hundreds of lives have been lost through this state-sponsored violence. Among those killed include prominent opposition members, Mazwin Ndlovu and Lavender Chiwaya. We cannot sit back and watch this travesty of justice against the people of Zimbabwe. The time has come for the Namibian government to set aside any liberation movement camaraderie it has with ZANU-PF and condemn the state-sponsored violence with the full comprehension it deserves. Even the ANC of South Africa has condemned the state-sponsored violence in Zimbabwe. Let me remind this August House that if Zimbabwe explodes, the economy and humanitarian crisis will be felt throughout the whole of the SADC region. Hence, we have a collective responsibility to address and find a long-lasting solution to the situation in Zimbabwe. Honorable Speaker, I so move.
Thank you. Next, Honorable Nico Smith.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I give hereby notice.
Please, let's listen to each other.
I give notice that on Wednesday, the 16th of September, I shall move that this House debates the issue of the responsibility of accounting officers in all government entities, agencies and regional and local authorities. Since there are so many of these organizations whose audits are qualified by the Auditor General every year. Nothing is done about this. There is zero responsibility on the part of the accounting officers, clearly, or the executive director. and the same pattern is repeated every year without recourse or remedy. I so move.
Thank you. Messages from the head of state, ministerial statements. Well, we have